it's kind of, I can answer this question like a player or like a technical expert, and I'd say I start as a player because it's easier to argue, to have arguments in such an approach. So basically, right now we're having a lot of games as a services, as they say, and even if you're not a gamer yourself, you could visit such platforms as Twitch or something streaming wise or like mobile charts, and you'll see that the majority of online games are very old, basically. So some of them are 10 years, 7 years, even 14 years like long, and they're still going and still gather a lot of audience just purely because of the not specifically LiveOps, but live operations as an approach, again, as a live service. And this is a very crucial part of understanding of how we operate as a system. And now to speak like from the technical perspective, as a product, you have several iterations, one of which is user acquisition, of course, obviously. And after you either acquired your users or they just came to you, you want to keep them within the game, right? And LiveOps basically as a system, or rather as a team or department or just one person, is a tool set which basically operates with the time limited activities within the games. And such time limited activities is what basically creates this kind of novelty within a very old game. And with doing that, with mixing, and it's something that I will be highlighting throughout the interview, I guess, with this kind of mix of novelty and being very conservative, you can maintain your core audience. So let's take, for example, some very old game, you name it. I won't be like spitting names and stuff, but like we all can like agree that there are some very old games. You have this very conservative audience who plays this game for 5 years and upwards, and they have accustomed to the mechanics, to the patterns of this game. But due to LiveOps presence and due to LiveOps efficiency, there is something new each week basically for them. So they can maintain this freshness, this novelty, yet having the skill set or just like having a habit of playing this game for a very long period of time. So basically, for now, if you want to have a very, very long project in terms of longevity, very, very healthy project in terms of longevity, rather, you need definitely to have a nice LiveOps. Well, like, again, this is the question of definition, like define what's the meta layer. Like I'd say for me personally, again, the meta layer is something additional to the game which exists on a very very primitive like planes of understanding. So you have this very basic core game loop to which you then add some meta layers. So in that case, meta layers is something that you add to the core game. Again, as I said, you mix something conservative with something fresh. So the biggest challenge from this perspective is balancing between accessibility and complexity to the users. Like you want to constantly bombard them with something new, yet this new features, this new events, this new approaches mustn't be very overwhelming for this core audience who sticks stick within the game for a long time. So this is the first one. Second one is basically how you balance engagement and retention. Again, engagement is something which for a lot of free-to-play projects is based around fear of missing out, right? So this is like a new skin or like new event or some IP collaboration, you name it, and you don't want to miss it out. And thus, you try to boost your engagement, to participate in game more, to increase short-term sticky factor and like short-form attention. And then on the next week, let's say, on the next month, on the next period of time, you will be having something new. And this fear of missing out can lead to a very fast burnout because you can't constantly keep up with the same intensity of playing. Thus, you need to maintain this push-pull balance between having something really good and really fresh, to having those spikes in engagement, DAO revenue, again, whenever metrics seems vital and important to you right now, and then to kind of drop it, you can hit it off, have some timeout to make player comfortable within a game and maybe even a bit bored. So that's the second part. And the third part is, of course, collaboration within the project in terms of how do you release content, because a lot of different projects or different teams or different approaches even treat LiveOps tools like a content deployment mechanism. And thus, you need to understand on which points within your journey or within a year of your business performance you want to release this content. Is it on during October or on November or in during Christmas period? So this collaboration within the company between different departments is key as well. Yeah, again, a bit of self-promotion, I'd say, but like my topic will largely be covering this idea of standardization as in algorithmic thinking between how do you schedule your schedule. Sorry for this. So I can definitely talk a lot and for a very long time about this, but like having it rather simple, firstly, you do need some kind of fundamental, some kind of skeleton, which doesn't really change during your lifetime. So basically, you can split your year or your schedule or any given time frame at all into some kind of chunks. In those chunks, you will use your LiveOps tools, which you have in your inventory, I'd say, and those kind of tools must be used like in synergetically and with a bit freshness to them. So you can't really relaunch the same event over and over again, even if the initial feedback on that event was overwhelmingly good. What I'm saying is, like with all this, lots of words, is basically you must mix your standardized project processes with freshness to it. How it looks in terms of actually working on your project is you will have some kind of tool set. Again, it could be events, it could be offers, it could be content deployment mechanism, segmentation, and all that LiveOps stuff. And you will reuse it over and over again. But in terms of creativity, you need to understand how to use those utilities in a very creative and unique way. Let's speak about the events, for instance. We have very basic and very understandable filters in the events, like let's say duration or segments. What about if instead of having an event for 3 days, we'll have it for 1 hour? Or let's do it for 1 week. It will be the same tool, it will be the same standardized process, but created differently on your side, and thus it will be a different event from the player's standpoint, you know. So this is the big part of this balancing of old and new, what you have and what you don't have. And again, what you have and what you don't have is another process of in studio operation, because you will have different departments, and usually those kind of people who operates with LiveOps tools aren't the same people who creates the LiveOps tools, right? And if those first team, LiveOps team, let's say, needs some kind of new tools, they need to create some documentation, some requests to the other team, and this requires a lot of time, effort, and resources from the studio standpoint, right? So this is the second layer of, I don't know, balancing everything out. How flexible and creative can you be with the old tools versus, do you really need this new tool or this, I don't know, this new concept for the LiveOps right now? Because sometimes you do need, and that times are usually during the very intense level, during really intense project periods, such as a new huge update, anniversary, new year, or a big marketing push in which you do really need to stand out from your previous versions. So this is the second layer of balancing everything out. And the third layer, I would say, is LiveOps team and the player feedback, because operating with players is something which each studio, I'd say, do differently, does differently, sorry, because basically some studios are very well known because of how they approach to the community. Some studios neglect their vocal minorities, I'd say, and go with the analytics. Some studios are just like operate within a very strict shareholder mindset, and thus it's like the third approach. And for the LiveOps, it's very hard to balance between the different different groups of vocal minorities. Some of them find your event very hard. Some of them find your event uninteresting and stuff like that. It's just a lot of feedbacks. And in terms of balancing this feedback, I would say the most important part is to mix everything out in this kind of like which brew in which you put the players' feedback, the, let's say, segmentational players' feedback, the surveys, the analytic reports, your gut feeling or your stakeholders' perception, and stuff like that. And it brews, and on the as a dish, you will have something that basically really vibes, sorry for this like kind of language, with all the parties. It suits the players. It really speaks to the community in some ways. It is nice in terms of analytics and KPIs, and it's something that you can do. You have the resource, so it's a huge diplomacy as well, I'd say, in a different ways and manners. But yeah, it's a third level of balancing everything. Yeah, for sure. Well, again, the scheduled pipeline is something that will do a lot of good to your project, because LiveOps is, again, it's something that I had missed on your previous question, but like I'd say it right now very briefly, that basically LiveOps is very usable and very important tool for analytics in a ways of A/B testing, right? And so basically you create hypothesis, then you like drop it on some specific sample of player base, and then you have some takes. You validate or invalidate those takes, and you roll with this. And basically your schedule or your algorithm or your pipeline will consist of those takes which survived the A/B testing, right? So if you do the steps that you had already verified previously, it basically win-win situation, because you did verify them. And like if you put your mind into a creativity, as we previously like briefly described, we briefly talked about that. It's something it's something which will serve you as a first step. The second step in that will be the task prioritization, because a lot of studios, and especially right now after post-COVID times, are limited on resources, right? And thus you really need to check with everyone what priorities do you have right now in terms of both KPIs, not player hours, but like human hours, I'd say. So basically, how much human resource do you have in terms of like creating a new tool, new content, new utility, new tool, etc. This is and thirdly, what KPI, again, like this is something not very popular in terms of an approach, but like visualizing your project as a business is very important as well. And each business runs on a KPI basically. What KPIs are most crucial right now? Is it player acquisition? Is it retention? Is it short-term retention? Is it RPPU? Is it monetization, etc.? And within your LiveOps schedule, you will prioritize those weak KPIs and try to boost them in a way that is most suitable to your tool set. So this is the third part. And lastly, I'd say, but it's like a very nerdy stuff, is an automatization tools. A lot of LiveOps in different studios is rather very strict and straightforward, or very like widespread and very user-driven or data-driven. So for the first group, I'd say it's easier to have some automatization just because of how they approach their LiveOps. It's easier to have one event which is not segmented for a given period of time. For the second group, it's harder to have the tools that will suit all the LiveOps needs, but some of the moments can be surely be done with help of AI or of automatic approach. So yeah, it's something that should be invested a lot. It's something that is very unique for different studios, and depending on your LiveOps approach, you just must gather your experts and figure out what you can really do without any human involvement. Well, as we previously talked out of the recording, it's kind of a very new event for me. I'm not a very public speaker. I never had been on any conferences, like on special and that large of the scale. So firstly, it's pretty much an honor for me. Like no like it's no compliments intended, and like it's really very something I'm very excited and looking forward to. And about what I'm looking for in this event is firstly to speak with the same-minded professionals, because what I had stumbled upon as a department director is that LiveOps as a field is very niche and very hidden, I'd say, because it's very heavily tabooed by the NDAs or different regulations, or like very sensitive data and stuff like that. And game designers or like studio managers don't really talk about LiveOps that much, which is surely understandable, but a shame really, because I would love to know more. I would love to even talk to people more about that. But all I found on the internet, on the public spaces, is very basic info, like which could be described within a 1 hour or 2 hour lecture. So yeah, to have an opportunity even to speak with people who do the same work in the studios of this kind of caliber is very important to me, even like just having the opportunity to vent out about our hardships or check our processes or speak about the weather really. Plus, I love London. I had never been there, but I like England and its culture a lot. So it's something that surely is a feature of itself. So yeah, kind of all the check boxes are crossed for me.